Welcome to the Inspire to Invest podcast, where we're sharing stories from real estate investors and how investing has changed their lives. This episode of the Inspire to Invest podcast has been brought to you by True Capital Real Estate, Strategic Success Consulting, and Infinite Real Estate Results. Welcome to the Inspire to Invest podcast. I have Diana and Jon. They're the dynamic duo behind Dijon Properties. They're real estate investors and developers with a passion for design. They specialize in multifamily burrs, renovations, and development, and it's their vision to add value and create beautiful spaces that make a positive impact. They not only transform homes, but they also want to transform lives, and they believe that everyone deserves a beautiful home to live in, and it's their mission to do it nice or do it twice. They do it right because they want to create homes that have quality, safety, Dijon design, and their values are integrity, connection, helping others, and having fun. So with that being said, welcome today, Dee and Jon. How are you?
Hi,
Good.
Karina. Thanks for having us
Here.
here.
Great.
So glad to have you guys on. So obviously you guys have a lot of big projects going on, but what I want to know first is really what life looked like before real estate came into your life in this capacity.
Hey, look. You want to start off with that?
What did life look
What did life look like before? Yeah.
You know what? It just
sum it up
coasting.
Yeah.
We weren't like, we never really used to plan. We never used to set goals. We just set goal. I think our main, like if we ever had a goal, was like, oh, I'd really love to try to retire at 55. So we never really set goals. And we actually weren't even, and then that's my background, because there was just too many big things happening in life. We never really had a good financial plan for our future.
Yeah.
Before.
So then what changed that then? Like, obviously you guys work together within your business. So what was a catalyst that made you think, you know what, we've got to do better, like aspire for more?
It was me, because my background is like, I am a pension actuary, and I think we were sort of done having kids. It was our second child. He was 2 years old, and it's like, okay, we need to start retirement planning, because we weren't really doing much on that end.
Yeah.
And this is my background, I'm looking at the numbers. Okay, we need to save a lot of money, like just to even retire. I think to have the same lifestyle, and again, we didn't have any knowledge. So I'm thinking like index mutual funds at 5% return. That's what I'm putting in my calculator. And it was like, you know, to have this same lifestyle, we have to retire at 65 and save a lot of money. Yeah. And I think it was just that. It's like that awareness, like, wow, okay, that's a lot, that's long, and that's a lot of money. Is there another way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it was through learning and getting educated with real estate investing, the returns that you can get there, and the long-term and generational wealth you can build.
Yeah.
Hold on, just jump in real quick.
Yeah.
You read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and then
changed my mindset.
She was trying
that's a huge one.
She was just trying to explain it to me real quick, but it was just going out the other ear.
Yeah. So I made my husband read that.
Did I make you
understand what I'm trying to do here? Like,
that's what it was.
A while, but
that's exactly what happened to me. So she was just trying, plant the seed, let's see it grow. You got her this book, but at that time, I just didn't have time to read. So go ahead. That's just had to throw that in there.
But I did make him come to this 2-hour free session where it talked a lot about all the different concepts and ways you can invest in real estate. Like, it's not just active and owning a property, there's passive ways too.
Yeah.
And so that was the light bulb for him. And I think that's when we, committed, like, okay, this is what we should do. Let's invest the time and money and get the knowledge to do it right.
Now, how long ago was that at this point? So I guess about 4 years, maybe?
Yeah, 2019. 2019.
Yeah. Now, in terms of where you're at right now, so I know, Dee, you're still working, meaning like a regular job. But Jon, are you still working, or are you just fully working on your investing business at this point?
Full-time in the business as of last March. Yeah.
Yeah. And what was kind of the defining moment to move forward into transitioning?
Well, we set a goal together in the beginning. Which is, again, going back to setting goals we never did. So our first major goal was for me to leave in March, and
in 3 years. In 3 years from when we started.
And it landed perfectly on March. So
Ding,
I
ding,
don't know,
ding.
yeah, we were just aligned, and
Yeah.
and look back at it now, we were taking on two projects at the same time, so
Yeah.
it was perfect timing.
Yeah, and it was like uh yes, it was 3 years, but it was also you get to there was a point too where like
Set
we
up.
needed help. Like we were
Yeah.
drowning because we're both we're both working full-time jobs.
Yeah.
And then it's like so you're only working like evenings and weekends and it gets
Yeah.
tough and we have two young kids, so lots and lots of burnout. I mean, there still
Yeah.
is sometimes, but it was
Yeah. Well, I think
Two.
that's what a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs deal with early on, right? Like there's that like the scalability where you're kind of wearing all of the different hats because you can't necessarily afford to hire someone maybe, or maybe you don't even know like what you need,
yeah,
right?
oh yeah,
So
exactly. You don't even
can you
know.
talk about like what your first property was and then where you took that with your portfolio to where it is today?
Our first, it's like we call it the gem. It is a gem, and it's so funny. It's on this street.
Golden egg.
It's on a street called Emerald, and it's our gem, and it's our golden egg. Because you learn everything from your first. So our first was a fourplex, an underperforming fourplex. And we were so naive at the time too that like at the showing, we brought our kids with us. We brought our kids with us. We had no idea. We had never done this. We had the knowledge, we built a team, but like, never experienced this. Brought the kids and we get there and like as soon as the door opened, we're like, oh, turn them around because there were cockroaches, boxes everywhere.
Oh, no. It was cockroach traps that actually he ate every single one around individually around the door.
Oh my God. Going like a hazmat suit.
Turn around. So I went back to the car with the kids.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
Yeah.
I turned around.
What were you thinking?
I'm like, get out of here. Go back in the car. Let me deal with this.
Yeah.
So
went back in the car with the kids, and then so Jon saw the property. I never saw it. And
then, she didn't see it. She didn't see it.
And he comes back, he's like, oh, this is it. Like
this is perfect.
And I never saw it. And maybe it's a good thing I didn't see it because it was like it was scary looking.
It was a fixer-upper, yeah. It needs some work.
It was really bad. Yeah.
True.
It was underperforming fourplex, and so it was a burr. 13 months, but we really learned everything. Everything you could possibly touch on, we did.
Yeah.
And
well, they say that's the true mark of an entrepreneur is not to see something as it is, but what it could be. So good on you guys for going ahead with that. So how did you actually fund that deal?
That one was our own, OPM through our HELOC.
Yeah. Okay.
We had never we had mentality. We had never ever refinanced, thought that was like always a big no-no. I think our goal was always just pay down the mortgage.
Yeah.
So we did do that. We refinanced and we used our HELOC.
Yeah.
So that was
what was the purchase price and how much did you end up spending in renovations and what's it worth today?
Yeah. When we bought it, a fourplex in Hamilton back in 2019, it was 626. Yeah. 600 or 625. Yeah. We just did lipstick renovations. So all in our costs for like, I know these numbers because it was 143.
Yeah. Okay.
And then it got it got appraised at I think 950.
Okay.
And so it was a perfect burr. And again, I guess it's a lot more it's a bit challenging now in Ontario, but that was a perfect burr. It was lipstick though too as well, which is why that I think really kept the cost down.
Yeah.
And
which
then
is still holding up.
Yeah. It's still cash flows because it cash flows well. At the time, things have changed, but at that time it was flowing like $2,000 a month.
Yeah. No, amazing. Now, what does your portfolio look like at the moment?
We have a lot of small, we have small multifamilies for 3. We have a 12 unit. We're almost completing an 8 unit that we built.
Yeah.
And then we tried out a flip last year. It was at the time too when rates were going up. So that's those things like, you don't really.
No, but it was crazy because we sold on the Monday and the rates went up on the Wednesday.
They were already going.
So they were perfect time.
They were already going up.
It was a raise. I don't know if it was the first one or the second one.
Rates started in March 2022, and we went to market like April, May.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah. Just as the tide was turning, so the time gods are on your side.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, and then we also have a short-term rental, a cottage. that we bought with our family, but we Airbnb it. So we have that as well. So and then we've gone to development. So we do have a development project.
Yeah.
Long time in the works, working with the city to build a 20 unit in Hamilton.
Nice. And is that your area of focus specifically in Hamilton?
It has been.
It has
been Hamilton. Yeah, it has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, do you think as you continue to grow, you'll stay in Ontario, or do you think you'll venture out of province at all?
I think that's what we're trying to figure out. Yeah.
Well,
that's what we're trying to figure out, because like I think we all know this, like in Ontario and the landlord tenant board and the pricing. I mean, you have to just really look, and it all comes down to the numbers, right? Yeah.
No, that makes perfect sense. Now, I guess when you look back at the last 3-4 years, what would you say you look at as your biggest success or something that you're most proud of?
It's a great question.
I know.
Narrow it down.
Like,
just besides all the learning, right?
Oh, there's a lot.
We'd have to pick that highlight.
What's our biggest? Yeah. I mean, I think like in what it's like everything. It's also like, our brand, our like Dijon. It's just, I will say one thing with that is we are so clear, and that takes time to really take the time to really set your your core values, your vision, your mission, because when you do that, everything you do, and like just how you present yourself, the decisions you make, when you have that like sort of guiding star, it's powerful in how you make decisions and how you present yourself too. Because another thing in this is, you also have to build your reputation, build your trust. So you do have to put yourself out there to attract investors and networking. So being consistent and being very clear on that of your business is really important. And I think another big success is just like all the relationships we've built. This is what this is about. It's all the relationships you build and the connections and everything is what helps you to grow, and the opportunities you'll find. So you just have to keep getting out there, keep networking.
It doesn't stop,
because there's a lot of challenges you're going to face too.
No, I think the power of community is so important, and just having the resources, and obviously as an investor or an entrepreneur, it can be really isolating sometimes, right? Like obviously you guys work together, but sometimes if you have a question or have an issue, like knowing you can go back to your community and hopefully people can get where you want to go faster, or help you resolve an issue that much more out of a schedule. Like I think all of that is so important. And going back to your point just about setting your goals and defining your mission and all of those things, it's fundamental to running a business, the same way like a foundation is for house. Like there's a reason it supports everything that you do. It supports your decisions, helps support your growth and your path forward, right? So I think all of that's very important. Now, in terms of obstacles that you face, is there anything that you would look at as like one of the biggest challenges that you guys have had to overcome?
It's like there's different phases, right? Different phases.
That's why I said biggest.
We kind of find I think a lot of people's path is, you start off, you get knowledge, you acquire. So it's just that first phase when you're acquiring. You get a property, then you realize after a few more, it's like, okay, shoot, it's a business. You need to systemize things. You need to systemize things and hire. Then you realize that it's kind of like you realize as you go. And then after that, then a lot becomes on the mindset part and the personal, because you're going to face a lot of different challenges and then you have to start. We've had a lot of reflection actually on the personal side, because we're only as good as we are personally and how strong we are. At what point you may hit limits, and sometimes those limits are actually yourself that are setting it back, and you don't even know it that you're doing this. And it's things we've actually just started to realize, because we're a married couple, and then we have to start working together. And no one teaches you that. And we have learned as we've gone along, but we got to a point too where having strong communication, treating it like business, like having meetings together. like that takes work. And
Yeah.
we had to start looking at that because as a married couple, like there are times like we're fighting, arguing, like that, those little squabbles, but do that. You don't want to talk to each other. But you can't do that when you're working and you have a business together. One day of not talking actually suffers a lot.
It set us back.
Yeah. And I think compartmentalizing things as well, right? Like you don't want to be sitting there having breakfast with your kids and talking about like your project. So sometimes you have to set those boundaries to know, like, you know, we're going to set this hour aside because we don't want to like bore our children with our business.
Guilty. Like there's times where just like, they're like,
she like that.
They're in the car, like, are you talking or are you arguing? And then daddy's like, yeah, mom's just so passionate because so
she's not mad, she's excited.
I say passionate.
There's been a lot of a lot of reflection lately because we just sort of realized, like,
well, just to add on top of what he's saying, we never but you know, we had meetings, Dijon meetings planned. But every time we came to the table together, it was just fireworks. We would just be, you know, we'd fight, I would shut down, and then that was it. And then it would set us back again, like a day, 2 days, sometimes a week. So again, that is not good for the business. So we were just like, okay, how do we fix this?
So we need to fix it. I think that's also part of, like, I mean, entrepreneurs, like, you're always trying to be better in, like, being better, being a better person. What can you do better for, you know, help others in your business? And it's like, okay, look, we need to work on this. Like this is not good. And so we took the time
committed to making those changes. I remember hearing a quote once that if you acknowledge something, you can change it. And I think one of the biggest challenges with anything is just people are in denial or they're not willing to face something. But if you're willing to, you know, look at the writing on the wall and be like, you know, this obviously needs to improve, or we're just going to hurt ourselves, whether that's in the home or in the business. So I think that's kudos to you guys for working through that, because it is a very difficult thing to overcome. When you look at the lessons that you've learned, is there anything that you think, you know, is a really important lesson that you would want to pass along to a newer investor that could be watching or listening?
Yes.
I think that,
Well, no, I think big one is take the emotion.
Take the emotion out. I think that was one of the, that really, really resonated with me when, you know, quote unquote. And now it's just, when I heard that, now it's just like, okay, let's just keep going, like take it out in the business. You got to treat it as a business, right? Yeah. So that was huge.
Feel it, but take the emotion out. And then another powerful one, a lot of is the mind. You are gonna, like, the mind, it's like another person, and those negative thoughts and that fear is gonna creep and it's gonna say things to you. And especially when things get very challenging. So another big lesson is like learning to control those negative thoughts. You know, like, have the negative thought, acknowledge it, feel it, and you have to, you know, like, literally you're doing things to switch that negative thought, like either gratitude or, you know, like telling yourself,
what is this trying to teach me?
Because
see the bright side, right?
You could get really, like, and you know, it can get dark and it can pull you back more, and you don't think clearly. And so that is one. It's the acknowledgement of those negative thoughts, I think, is another one to
work on. No, I think that's important. And on that note, we're just going to take a really brief break for a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Carlene Sue, and I'm the CEO of True Capital Real Estate. Our mission is to help busy professionals build lasting wealth. We focus on multifamily purpose-built rentals as a strategic and accessible investment strategy. Our goal is to demystify real estate investing and be your trusted partner to handle all aspects from beginning to end. Because after all, it's not actually about real estate. It's about having a robust and secure financial future so you can focus on the people and things that you care about the most.
Thanks again for following along with this episode of Inspired to Invest. In addition to real estate, investing, and running my own brand experience agency for 18 years, I also published a book called The Accidental Entrepreneur in October of 2021. This is my story, and it chronicles how I turned tragedy into triumph to embrace my destiny in entrepreneurship. If you're interested in picking up a copy, you can find the link at serenahomesrealtor.com, and you can also find my link tree with all of the retailers in the details below. Thanks again for your support.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying the podcast. I will get you right back to it, but I have some exciting news to share. Myself from Strategic Success and Corey McKinnon from Infinite Results have banded together so we can bring to you an amazing platform where you can learn and grow and have support on your real estate journey. We're building a community, we're building the help and the support, we've got the coaching for you, we've got the content. So if you want more information and see how it can help you on your journey, click the link below in the show notes or click the link in my bio for more information.
Welcome back to the Inspire to Invest podcast. I've got Jon and Diana here from Dijon Properties, and they're talking about how they jumped into real estate investing about 4 years ago, building up a big portfolio of multifamily in Hamilton, and some of the successes and challenges and lessons that have gone along with that. And with that being said, I guess one big question I have for you guys is, what's the craziest thing that you've experienced as a real estate investor so far?
Oh my God. Talk about the boarding up story.
We had okay, I'm gonna try to make this quick. Yeah. So we evicted a tenant, and then the tenant was inherited tenant. We got her
court date,
evicted. She started moving out, and she started moving out. Her son came in and just started using it as a party room.
He said he was helping her move.
But he was using it as a party room, and that was like every day.
And trashing it.
And all the tenants were, just
upset. Cops can't do anything.
Cops can't do anything. I was with the cops.
Cops can't do anything. It's their son.
3 times, and then I just told them like, hey man, I'm just gonna come into your unit to just do an inspection on the following week. And I just pretended, I was there, became a hemorrhoid, just went in there every day and I
what's going on?
Right? That's all I have a court order. I can't do anything, right?
Yeah.
So my blood was boiling every night, couldn't sleep. On the Monday, I went in there and he impacted all the doors shut with deck screws. And I was like, okay, let's check out the next door. And then he did the same thing. He changed the lock on the main front, so we were like, we got him. So now we got him. We
called a locksmith, because once you change the locks, you can't do that. So we called a locksmith. But I
did call the LTB though to have it in writing, and I did speak with somebody that was very nice, and then he got it on record. And then I was like, hey, what do we do now? Let's just freaking board, because we don't want this guy coming back.
So we got in, changed all the locks, because he's not a tenant.
Yeah.
We changed all the locks and actually even boarded up all the windows to make sure he didn't have access in there, and said to him, hey, if you want to get in here, your mother can be the one, because she's the one on the lease, and she can be the one that can contact us. But she was out already.
Yeah. That's crazy.
And she never came back. So it worked, but you got to stick with it. But in terms of it sounds like a quick story, but that 1-2 weeks was
we skipped the incidents between me and him.
The emotions and the stress of seeing your place getting trashed.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do. You're asking the cops for help, nothing they can do.
Yeah,
we had new tenants. We had new tenants moving in. It's like, this is not what we want to show them.
Yeah.
And consistency, staying positive.
Yeah, definitely staying positive. Whenever it rains, there'll always be sunshine, right? Just gotta.
I think that's honestly just one of the biggest challenges being an investor in Ontario, though, right? Is the way that the LTV gives so much more control to the tenants in a lot of situations, and just the delays that certain things can happen. So I think it's, as much as that wasn't your tenant, I think that's pretty great that it only lasted a week or 2, because I've heard stories where people are stuck with a tenant for a whole lot longer than that in variable situations, whether it's non-payment of rent or, I've got one client I've talked to for about 1 year and 8 or 9 months, and she was supposed to have an eviction with her tenant. She got the ruling. They gave them 6 months to move out. They didn't move out. So now she's waiting on the sheriff to come, and it's turned into an abusive situation. She's actually charged them with assault. They've dismantled cameras around her property. There's been some damage, and this is a senior woman. You know what I mean? It's just so heartbreaking to hear about some of these stories. So I think at least, that's definitely a silver lining that you guys got through, and it was compressed to a shorter window of time. Now I know you guys really believe in investing in education and all the different things that go along with that. What's some of the best advice you think you've ever been given?
Best advice. I think one thing is always see how you can give value in everything you do. Because if you lead with helping others first and always have that as and how you do things,
Yeah.
it always just comes back. Like, yeah. So I think that's one thing, is just like, we love to lead with service.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. I know we talked a little bit earlier just in terms of some of your future plans, but do you want to talk a little bit about the projects you're working on right now, or like what opportunities you might have available?
Yeah, like I mean, we're working currently on an Aplex. It's big renovation fund. So we were, we had investors there for the renovation part of it.
Yeah.
And then even the stabilization of it, looking into even having investors actually be shareholders of that, because it's just a beautiful building in the heart of downtown.
Yeah.
And then we're working, and then our development project, like at the time we haven't structured it yet, because we're sort of just doing all the planning phase. So it's a lot of consultation with the city, and we're almost there.
Yeah.
But at a point now where we're figuring out how we're going to structure this deal.
Yeah.
And either bring on equity partners as well for that.
So who do you lean on for guidance in a situation like that? Because obviously, if you've never done it before, like, is it your lawyer guiding you, or like a securities lawyer? Like, who are you guys leaning on for that advice?
Yeah, well, yes, definitely lawyers, accountants, and as well as like, our network. Like, we, again, connected with people that are in development, doing development. That's not even actually how we started. Like, this development project, it didn't start off that way. When we acquired it, we thought we were just going to do a conversion and work within.
Units.
And then it was when we discovered, the zoning. This is downtown zoning. You can do like up to 6, 8 stories. It's like, oh, okay. And we kind of went into the path of development, learned as we went. We didn't have all the answers. But again, if you have a very strong network and you are connected there and you've got those relationships, it does become, who do you turn to ask?
Yeah.
And so we had friends that were working on development. They connected us. They're connecting us with their team, their lawyer, like their architects, their planners, engineers. And learned as we went, but guided by professionals.
Yeah. No, I think that's so important. Just the power of relationships. Now, I guess taking a step back from real estate investing, but just in terms of what kind of an impact it's had on your life, or the impact that you hope to see it have on your life, like, what would you say, has made it so special for you, and like, how has it really changed things for both of you?
Well, besides me being full-time in the business, it's also it's changed the dynamic between us two. We've been focusing on ourselves. Yeah. And that now we bring our best self to the table now. So we can finally have meetings. We can finally, we could put up with each other night and day now.
We've been together forever. We're high school sweethearts. And, you learn as you grow, and even just real estate investing, it was just a whole new learning of each other and phases, just because of the circumstances we put ourselves into. They were different. It was outside of our comfort zone, and we had to learn, and we always focus on being better. Like, yes, I'm telling you, there's times where it would really test the marriage, and that could happen if you, but you don't give up and you strive to be better. I think it's just even our life, I think the impact, just the influence on our children. We don't preach or anything like that to them, but they're seeing what we're doing. Yeah. They're seeing what we're doing, and then they sort of understand the concept of investing and properties.
And that's ultimately going to be your legacy too, right? So depending on how you plan to structure things, or the things that you show them. I remember reading, just talking about, having a job is hard, and doing just different things is hard. And I think when it comes to marriages or relationships, one of the biggest challenges is just change, right? So you could change a job, or you could change this, or in this instance, you're choosing real estate investing, but it comes with all of these long-term beneficial things for you, right? So at the end of the day, you choose your hard, and you choose what's going to kind of affect you and stuff like that, right? So it's you could find it hard going and grinding in a 9-to-5 and stuff like that, and maybe not being able to support yourself properly in retirement, or you struggle through it for a little while now, but then you gain traction, it starts rolling, and then it's going to open up all kinds of time and opportunity, and knowing that you're leaving that legacy for your family. I think that it's worth it. And as long as, again, you're acknowledging those things and pushing through it, I think that's all just so much more important.
Yeah. What we're very mindful of too is, because yes, you're doing this for your kids and this legacy, and you love them to see that path, but we have to also be careful. Like we can't be gone too much. We can't be.
Yeah,
So
you don't want
there's
that
a
to
very
It's got to be a balance.
yeah, there's a fine balance on who does what, where we go,
Yeah.
because if they're just constantly see that we're gone or we're like always in meetings or we can't, like they're gonna resent all of this.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, and we were like that in the beginning, and we learned from
Yeah.
that because they're just like, you're always gone, and they get angry. So we have fun together.
They just want you to be there.
Just want you
Yeah.
there.
They
Yeah.
wait for you to come home, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, like we're their entire world until they're probably like 10 years old, right? So
And
you can't get that time back.
yeah,
yeah.
you can't. So
No.
very mindful of that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Now, in terms of motivation and inspiration, are there any particular quotes that both of you are fond of?
I run into quotes a lot. I do write them down when like it hits me. So I write it to actually I haven't told you these ones, but goals without routines are wishes. Routines without goals are aimless. And then there's this one where the only thing worse being blind is having sight with no vision.
Yeah.
So it kind of
you don't know where you're going, you could end up someplace else.
and it's like we're very, very into our vision and mission, right?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. How about for you, Dee?
One of my top quotes.
Yeah.
What are some of my top quotes?
I didn't know if you had something different or not.
I know. Oh my gosh.
You would send me them, but you don't.
I know it's not time.
It's hard to think on the spot.
I mean, not a top quote, but just something to live by. It's just your energy is everything.
Yeah.
And sort of like just what you put out there. I just like lead with love, listen to understand. I think is just like important aspects of life and everything you do, like as a parent, as a friend, business. That's how I live my life. Yeah,
I like them. I think those are great. Now, is there anything in particular that you wanted to leave with the audience before we go?
Leave with the audience. That's anyone going that wants to sort of start this journey. It's definitely, it starts with education. It starts with education, and then taking action. But if you can learn from us, there is like I really feel everyone got to go to this phase. You acquire, then you realize you got to systemize and hire.
Yeah.
But as you realize too, like if you don't have a strong foundation, and maybe this awareness to start in the beginning, a really strong foundation of your core values of yourself, and realizing maybe what could be like limiting you. You may hit this limit until you build that to really like excel you to your zone of genius. We learn that as we went, but if we can tell people like keep these things in mind, I mean, sometimes you don't know it till you live it. I think this awareness, if we had this awareness, maybe it would have been made things easier, but grateful for what we've been through.
I would leave that word, quote unquote, awareness. That's like my favorite word now. So I would leave.
Awesome. No, I love that. So obviously, thank you to both of you taking time out of your busy schedules to be here today. And of course, sponsoring the podcast for the month of November. That's very much appreciated as well. And of course, for anyone that has been tuning in, please make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. And if you're on another audio streaming platform, it'd be great if you could leave us with a review. You can also follow along at Inspire to Invest Podcast on Instagram. And remember, above all else, when you invest in yourself, the sky's the limit. Thanks again.
Thanks again to our sponsors, True Capital Real Estate, Strategic Success Consulting, and Infinite Real Estate Results for bringing you this episode of Inspired to Invest. The views represented on this podcast are for general information only and does not constitute investment or other professional advice or an offering of securities. The host and guests featured on Inspired to Invest make no representations as to the performance of any particular investment. Should you decide to make an investment, you are responsible for conducting your own review and analysis. It is recommended that you obtain independent legal, accounting, and tax advice from licensed professionals.